Alright, so boom. If you are unaware, let me bring you up to speed. Andrew Tate, the man who has dominated social media algorithms over the course of the past year, now that I actually think about it. I would have loved to say 3-4 months, but this man has been all over your algorithm, whether it's been TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. He is everywhere. God, your shadow, taxes, oxygen, Andrew Tate. That is the Mount Rushmore. He has joined and put his fifth head next to God, your shadow, taxes, and oxygen. He is right there. I'm top G. He in the car right now, but we're not talking about that right now. He just got banned on Instagram and Facebook for violation of terms of service, right? And here's the problem that I have with that. First and foremost, if we just contextualize just the banning of his personal accounts for violations of terms of service, it's bullshit, because he doesn't post anything that violates the terms of service. All he posts is his lifestyle. Smoking cigars, supercars, on a yacht, in a club. Nothing different than anybody flexing on Instagram, anybody flexing on Facebook. But he violates terms of service. They created a loophole to take him down. Why? Because people don't like what he says. Then, let's talk about the allegations that they have against him. The big two: human trafficking, domestic violence. Both of them. Google searching for 15 minutes to 20 minutes, you would identify, oh, those are both misinformation, bullshit, right? The human trafficking, particularly with that girl, right? Because that's the actual case with the girl, right? Who evidently she was cheating on her boyfriend, staying at the Tate house, I'm top G, staying at the palace of the top G's, right? Then her boyfriend finds out, so what happens? Oh, well, they held me against my will. They have surveillance footage of this woman retrieving a pizza. That doesn't look like somebody who's being held against their will. Then you have the domestic violence situation where a girl who is allegedly being tortured by this tyrant comes out and says, oh no, they took the video out of context. But evidently, social media, that doesn't matter. Because whether something is true or false, it don't matter, because it's now become a gray area. It's the fact that there's even an allegation, the mere thought that you could have possibly been guilty is enough for somebody to be guilty in the eyes of social media. It's very perplexing, right? And then last but not least, people who don't agree with what it is that he says. Now, granted, are there things that are said that are extreme from him? Absolutely. But here's what seems very curious to me is they said, well, he's a danger to the community and he's galvanizing young men to go out there and be toxic and everything. But wait a minute. Where do we draw the line? How do we identify, oh, well, this person in particular is a danger? Because last I checked, doesn't the music now, you hear people constantly embolden people to be toxic? They're emboldening people to go out there and finesse somebody. Remember years ago when Cardi B literally on an Instagram live talked about how she drugged and robbed men? But somehow, wouldn't that fall under the same umbrella of being a danger? Because who is being pushed to the top? Who has Instagram's verified profile in the comment section? Her. Does that make any sense? Wouldn't that constitute as being a danger? Because, hey, you can drug and rob people, but all of a sudden, you're still able to, on a damn rocket ship to the top. That doesn't make any sense. Moreover, here's one thing that I'll never understand, right? Andrew Tate and people like Andrew Tate, every time you see a video of him, he's actually having discourse with somebody. More often than not every time, because there are some videos that were taken to where he's just recording himself, but oftentimes he's having a conversation with somebody. So if you disagree with him, don't you think he'd give you an audience? Because think about it. Let's just say everybody who disagrees with him were to do a Q&A. I'm pretty sure Andrew Tate would be able to do a Q&A with everybody who disagrees with him, to where you can provide the points that you disagree with him and he will provide a retort. Because ultimately, if you want to solve issues, like in this topic of toxic masculinity, where was it birthed? What's the source? Why are there so many men? Because mind you, he had some female followers as well. But why are so many men gravitating towards content like Andrew Tate, Fresh and Fit, Kevin Samuels, Alpha Male Strategy, Rollo Tomas, this Manosphere? Why Tommy Sotomayor? Why was all of this so attractive to young boys and young adults, and hell, men in their 30s, late 20s, 40s, 50s, 60s? Why is that? Because there's a problem that exists. There's a disconnect amongst the gender. Like, really take into account what they have to say about people like Andrew Tate and everybody in the Manosphere and everything. Look at the other side of the coin, where you have like a Call Your Daddy podcast, After Dark podcast, all these different female-led podcasts. It's two different sides of the exact same coin. Both sides, if you want to talk about this side is extreme, is the other side not extreme? It's confusing to me. I don't understand. And just to shift back to Andrew Tate, so I don't go on no super tangent or whatever, it doesn't make sense to me. Because if you really look into what it is that's being posted, everything is taken out of context. Because all of those clips, they're clips of a long form video. So to say, oh, well, this video here, well, he was saying this and he believes this. Do you not ponder the fact that some may be satire? In an effort to truly understand what it is that somebody is saying, wouldn't you want to know for a fact what they're saying here, there is no satire. They legit mean this. This guy had a clip where he was saying, oh, well, if there was a terrorist that was on a plane or in a restaurant or some shit, he would dodge and push the bullet, dodge a bunch of bullets, grab the gun, turn around and take out does that sound like something that is humanly possible? Yes, if you know Detroit urban survival training. But oftentimes there's a lot of clips that are said in satire, but they don't even give you the grace. Cancel mob doesn't even give you the grace to identify whether something is satire or not, and to ban somebody through and through because you disagree with their opinion. What that does is creates a very dangerous space, right? Because we prioritize feelings so much over facts, right? Because let's really talk about Andrew Tate here. When you look at the vast majority of his clips, right? If you were to sit here and consume all of the clips that are on the algorithm, the thousands upon thousands of reshares of his clips, can you say in your heart of hearts you disagree with everything that was said? And if in the event that you do, can you provide the reasons why you do? Because oftentimes a lot of people say, I disagree with what was said, right? Okay, cool. So when you disagree, you must have a point of view to counteract what it is that you had heard. Oftentimes people just feel, I don't like what I'm hearing, rather than actually have an argument against it. Because I'm not saying everything the man was saying was accurate. As I stated prior, there are a lot of extremes that he was saying. But if you really want to combat the problem that you have, create a space to where you can have conversation, removing the voice entirely. What does that say? We are the ones who get to stand on this high moral ground. And that's the cancel mob, that is, and only our opinion matters. But what happens there? What happens there? You silence people completely and say you don't get to speak because you're saying things that hurt our feelings. But aren't you the same individuals that say you're tolerant? Aren't you the same individuals that say that everybody should be able to speak up and have a voice? It's very confusing. Because you'll sit here and you'll look how hypocritical social media has become, how hypocritical these apps and all this other stuff has become. Because when you really sit back and you look at it, you're like, wait a minute. One side is being canceled for talking. The other side can just say whatever the fuck they want. It's not a problem. Like, I don't understand how people don't understand this. They're celebrating that they kicked a man off of the internet. Everything you were saying really hurting my feelings. If you really wanted to make mans look stupid, make mans look dumb, put him on a public platform. You question him. Yes, you bring forth every disagreement that you have, and you have it happen in real time. Of course, when you're recording videos, like for example, this here, I can mess around and, oh, well, I'll edit this. I'll move this to make this seem perfect. I'll cut this out. Although you do things in real time, you'll see if somebody really feels a certain way or if they're actually educated or whatever the case is. He's literally sitting down with people who disagree with him. Like, for example, when he did that virtual, well, that wasn't virtual because they were in person. When he did that sit-down date with that woman, that single mother and the stuff, and he was talking the entire time, right? She started the beginning disagreeing with him, all this other stuff. She was like, oh, well, he's a sexist, misogynist. I don't really like him, all this different thing. But then at the end, she said, oh, I would go on a date with him. I would go out with him. Why? Because dialogue actually gets you to understand somebody. I'm not going to say everybody's going to come to the conclusion that they would like him, but at least give somebody the grace to have the conversation. It's one thing if you had somebody who's considered dangerous, somebody who could become a menace to society per se, who's violent per se. Like if you were to have Andrew Tate walk into a room and this man is just straight up kicking people in the face, fighting people. Okay, words? He's hurting you with his words? Sit down, have a conference, one side disagrees, one side that agrees, have the dialogue so you can come to a consensus of understanding. Why is it that we all get on social media, everybody talks about how important communication is, but we just completely move over the fact that communication means nothing without comprehension? Nobody seeks to understand. Everybody just listens to respond. It's ridiculous. You can't ban people for saying things you disagree with without actually giving an audience, or I should say, putting a platform or some sort of conference or something to where now you can have the people who have different points of view have discourse. Because the truth is somewhere in the middle. To completely eradicate and try to silence and remove people who say things you disagree with, you're creating a society, creating an environment to where now people are going to feel so suppressed to where they will end up getting physical. Because what's the point of speaking up? I'm going to get canceled anyway. It's ridiculous, bro. It really is. So all in all I got to say to the whole thing is I think it's utter bullshit. Because it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. I don't understand. It frustrates me because you'll see people get banned left and right for just their thoughts, their opinions, and all this other stuff, but you don't provide them an opportunity to speak with somebody they disagree with. Like, could you imagine what would happen if you had all the people who had like the lynch mob, the cancel culture that, oh man, I don't like, I can't like it, just have them sit down and speak to each other. People literally on Twitter sharing misinformation. They put a compilation video of a dude that's not even him and say, this the guy who's supposed to be bringing masculinity. It's not even him in the video. You literally spreading misinformation. And you'll joke like, I don't understand. It don't make sense. It don't make sense. I wasn't waking up in the morning and like, oh man, I gotta see Andrew Tate. I'm the top G. I'm the top. Like, you gotta understand why there's so many young people who gravitate towards this content. Because they're fed up. They're getting tired of not being able to speak up. You're creating this very problem you're trying to avoid. And constantly, the lack of discourse is what's leading you down this path to where you're gonna make even more angry people. And you laugh in the face of when somebody gets canceled because, oh, well, we won. They don't get to speak anymore. Woohoo! It's a W for us. But what you don't realize is you're creating the very problem. Damn camera overheated. But just in closing, people don't realize they're creating the very problem that they're trying to avoid. Okay? So truly, the best case scenario, I think, for something like this, have a place to where you can have dialogue between the people who disagree with each other. And then they can try to come to a consensus or an understanding about what's the best method to move forward or what's the best case scenario to move forward. Because this constant battling back and forth, debating, comments, do it in real time. It's not even really debating. It's really just a war, like, screaming back and forth. Like nobody is even trying to understand. Because if you understand each other, then you can move forward. But it seems like, oh no, I want you to do this because it benefits me. I want you to do that because it benefits me. It's just so weird to me, dog. I'll say it once more. The primary problem that we have is the fact that people talk so much about the necessities of communication, but they overlook the importance of comprehension. People only listen to respond rather than listen to understand, and that's what's leading us down this fucking problem. So overall, I think the best case scenario is have the two people who disagree with each other sit down. Not even just two people, the whole crowds of individuals. Do a whole Q&A. Rent out a goddamn stadium, arena, auditorium. Doesn't matter how big, how small. You can do it in a goddamn church. Don't matter. Have people who disagree with each other sit down and talk the goddamn problems out. Then you can move forward. Because canceling somebody and silencing somebody through and through and saying this kind of, content or this kind of, discourse or this kind of videos, we can't stand for that. You don't get to speak. But then somebody on the other side gets to say the exact same thing, but it's perfectly fine because they're a quote unquote protected class. It's utter bullshit and you know it. Come on, man. What are we doing? Let me know in the comment section what you think about the brother getting banned. Because truly, I look at it like, all right, it's cool. You need somebody else. They doing their content great. If I disagree with somebody on the internet, I disagree with you. I move on with the rest of my day. But for whatever reason, somebody else, they'll be on the internet. Oh, I disagree. So let me just go out here and make sure everybody knows I disagree. I'm going to take this person down. Let's silence them. I should only be online and see things that I like. You can filter that, right? You can just say, see less posts like this, and then move on with the rest of your day. But for whatever reason, it's on to, I disagree with this, so let's just fucking cancel and delete everything that I disagree with. That's an incredibly entitled mindset to have. But I could sit over here for hours and go into this long form, rant on the entire situation. I'm gonna move on with the remainder of my day. But let me know in the comment section what you guys think about Andrew Tate getting banned, and if you think the best case scenario would be him having discourse with the people who we disagreed with and them trying to come to a consensus on what. Damn camera keep overheating. All these cars I'm robbing definitely don't got no damn AC, but we're not talking about that right now. Let me know in the comment section what you think would be the best case scenario to move forward, and do you think it was just that Andrew Tate got removed off of Instagram and Facebook? They're probably going to work on taking down his YouTube or whatever, but that's a conversation for a different day. Let me know in the comment section what you think about the situation. I'm out of here. You mean to tell me you watched the entire video but you haven't subscribed? Hit the subscribe button and become a member on Patreon or on YouTube to get access to the Discord. We're waiting for you in the Shadow Realm. Do it! Just do it! Make your dreams come true! Please! Please!
What are you waiting for, huh? Oh my god.